Yo, what's up, man? It's me, it's your man, Jono. I'm here today, man, just to kick some game a little bit, man. Had my fantasy football fantasy expo last week, man. Just coming off of that. Definitely a great time, great people. Big shout out to everybody who was there, man, and showed me and my boy Nick some love, man. Definitely appreciate all that, man. Appreciate all the game you guys were kicking it. Just great time, man. Great energy for sure. Uh, I still thinking about it, man. Still trying to recover from it, for sure. But in the meantime, today I'm here today to talk about the Denver Broncos and a little bit later round value and just how Sean Payton is important to your fantasy draft, whether you realize it or not. Him and the Denver Broncos. So first thing is first, man. Just to talk about first thing I'm gonna talk about is the wide receiver position, right? With Courtland Sutton, who's a guy that's been going really, really late when you think about teams and their number one wide receivers, right? Uh, if you think the Denver Broncos are not going to be a good team, that's even more of a reason for you to subscribe to this theory in terms of them being down. And if they're down, they're going to have to throw the football. And if they have to throw the football, Courtland Sutton is the alpha on that team for sure. He's still a guy that's got a lot of talent. And if you told me that I could get a guy that had scored 10 touchdowns the previous year, in around 7, 8, or 9, somewhere in that ballpark, I would take it all day long, especially in a PPR format. Obviously, Courtland Sutton should be the guy getting a lot of those targets. I know Troy Franklin is there. I know Greg Dulcich is also, involved in the passing game as well. And I mean, there's a couple other guys there in the Denver Bronco offense, but Courtland Sutton is a guy that last year, Russell Wilson was able to hook up with him quite a bit. And coming down the stretch, he was someone that paid dividends for a lot of fantasy owners. So I'm getting right back on that train with Courtland Sutton. I just feel like he's way undervalued at the place that he's being drafted at right now. And I want to make sure that I'm sharing that with you guys. Anybody that's watching this, right? Because if you are going robust running back, right, or you're someone who gets, a tight end and a quarterback earlier on in the draft, you're going to have to be looking a little bit later on to fill those wide receiver 3 spots. And Courtland Sutton is a guy that if I'm approaching a build with that, then he's somebody that I'm very comfortable with being in like one of those wide receiver 3 or one of those flex positions, right? And you go back in history and you think about what Sean Payton was able to do with big body guys like Marcus Colston and Jimmy Graham, right? Like not a lot has changed in terms of how those guys are being used in red zone targets and things. And that's what you want as a fantasy owner. You want someone who's going to get the opportunities to score touchdowns. And Courtland Sutton for the Denver Broncos is 100% that guy. So don't sleep on Courtland Sutton when you get a little bit later on in your draft. Obviously, again, like the Denver Broncos, I'm not saying they're going to be world beaters or anything like that right there, but this is just a place to get value, and value is how you win your fantasy football draft. So Courtland Sutton is a guy for me. I'm targeting in every single draft when you start to get into a little bit of those later rounds, right? Next up, man, is my man Javante Williams, running back, and he's had a lot of different variations and ranges that he's been going in. But realistically, when you look at like the zero RB guys, my Nike Dunks, my low top Air Force One pimps out there, I'm talking to you guys, right? Because this is zero RB, and Javante Williams is a guy that fits that zero RB mold. He's there a little bit later on, around 6, 7-ish, somewhere in that ballpark, right? Kind of the same thing as Courtland Sutton, right? So we got 2 players from one team who, their ADP isn't until essentially after round 5 and 6. So like Javante Williams is a guy that if you end up getting into a zero RB build, Javante's a guy you really got to take a strong look at. Sean Payton has had a lot of success with running backs in the past. He's had a lot of guys. Obviously, you think of players previously like Reggie Bush, Tim Hightower for some of my OGs out there, Pierre Thomas again for some of my OGs, and obviously Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Sean Payton running backs, like they will get the job done in some capacity. It might not be completely sexy, but like he can fill an RB2 spot for sure. So I just feel like when you're looking at the Denver Broncos and you're looking at their situation, again, they're not sexy. They're not a team that's going to score a boatload of points or projected to score a boatload of points, I should say, but they're in the same division with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And if you're playing the Chiefs, you're going to have to put some points on the board. And you just think about what that looks like later on. You're not going to beat the Chiefs in a 10-7, grind out fest. And, even for teams that aren't necessarily air raid teams, NFL teams still throw the ball more than they ever have, right? Like that's still a thing. So, when you're talking about guys like Courtland Sutton and Javante Williams, for me, I'm buying on those guys later on, right? Because it's not like it's costing you, a whole lot of draft capital to select these guys. It's not. It's later on in the draft when your roster is filled out almost, and now here you go. You have a starting running back, you have a starting wide receiver. And now, you can build on to everything that you have going on with your said roster, right? Because I'm just looking back over history with Sean Payton and the success that he's had with his skill players. He's always had a lot of success with the names that I've rattled off. Thomas Hightower, Marquez Colston is a name that I think people forget about. I'm pretty sure he was an undrafted free agent or really, really late round guy. And they were able to, to turn him into a very fantasy relevant player. So Courtland Sutton, Javante Williams, two names I know fantasy managers are very, very familiar with, but don't go to sleep behind the wheel with those guys. And then you think about like Jaleel McLaughlin, right? He's another guy, running back 50. He's somebody that can help you fill out your roster and can provide some value for you later on, especially in PPR formats. Audric Estime is another name as well. You go back and you take a look at him at Notre Dame, running back. He is an absolute man-child back there, right? So maybe there is three running backs there, but like Sean Payton has done it before, and we know what to expect. We know he can be a little bit quirky, but Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos, I don't think they're going to be as bad as what people think. And the last person I'm going to talk about is Bo Nix. Bo Nix is sneaky athletic. He's played against high caliber competition in the SEC when he was at Auburn. Obviously, he was at Oregon, last year. And I just think that he's being undervalued and overlooked, especially when you talk about super flex teams. Like he's a guy that, like, as a QB2, he's going to be the guy. Like I don't think there's any question about that. And even if he's not, it's only a matter of time before he is. But Bo Nix, I feel like he's a lot better. He's more athletic than what people think. He can make a lot of throws on the football field. He's got some chemistry with Troy Franklin. And, Sean Payton's got his guy. He said it. And, it didn't work out last year with him and Russ. And this year, Sean Payton had a chance to get the groceries. And I just feel like there's a lot of meat on the bone here when you talk about this Denver Bronco team and fantasy football managers and where they're being drafted at. And hopefully tonight, they're able to showcase that here tonight. But, I just wanted to get on here tonight, man, and just kind of let you guys know, like, a couple players that I was looking at and, that were being undervalued. And obviously the name of the game with fantasy football is to find any value where you can. And Javante Williams as an RB2, Courtland Sutton as a wide receiver 3, 4, or either one of those guys in the flex or value. And that's what I'm here to do, is to let you guys know, don't miss the boat on both of those guys. So, man, my name is Jono. Just wanted to kick some game to y'all, and I'm out. Peace.